Hey everyone, today I want to show you guys how to use HeatnBond for your fabric. You can cut this. I'm going to be using my Cricut Explorer Air 2 to show you guys how to do this because the Air and Air 2 and Explorer machines can cut fabric that has been stabilized. So I have the video where you can use the freezer paper as a hack, but if you use HeatnBond or another iron-on adhesive, you can actually adhere the fabric to a material. So I'm going to show you guys today. I'm going to be using the HeatnBond Ultra Hold. This is no-sew. I have not used this on anything that I have washed yet, so I am not sure how well it holds up in washing, but I used the HeatnBond Light, which is sewable, and it holds up really well with washing. I appliqued around it, so it holds up really well with the washing. The HeatnBond Ultra Hold, you do not want to sew. I know it says no sew and you think, oh, maybe I can sew it. It's really gummy and it's going to destroy your needle, so don't do it. Instructions are on the back, so I'm going to go through it with you guys quickly. Pre-wash all materials without fabric softeners and preheat iron to medium heat. I'm going to be using my EasyPress because it's easier, but if you are going to use your iron, that's fine too. No steam. Place adhesive on the back of material to be bonded, and then place and hold iron on the paper liner for 2 seconds. Repeat until entire surface is bonded. Allow to cool. Cut to size and shape needed. So what we're going to do is, you'll see it has this kind of rough side. This is your adhesive, and it's got the paper side. Now the HeatnBond Ultra Hold, you're going to have further instructions for adhering it well. You're going to, I'll walk you through that, but we'll peel the paper off later. So what you're going to do is put your material, that pretty side down. You're going to place the adhesive side to this. Now I made mine a little bit smaller. If yours is just about the right size, I would put something underneath this to protect your mat. That's really important because the adhesive it doesn't come off well. Speaking from experience, if you saw my ironing board, you know. Okay, so for my EasyPress, I just set it to 300. I looked up medium heat on an iron, and it said like silk wool setting, and when I searched it, it said about 300, so I use that. So I'm going to quickly go ahead, 2 seconds. Okay, and we're going to allow it to cool. I take it off my mat to let it cool because the mat helps retain that heat, which is great when you're doing something you need it to do. So once that's cooled, I'm going to peel the paper backing off, and it's going to be adhesive on that side too. And then we're going to attach that to our mat and cut it. So I'm going to, actually, I have a bigger piece that I already did with the HeatnBond, and I didn't think about it, but maybe some of you aren't experienced with HeatnBond, so I just redid this video to show you guys how to do it. So I'm going to actually be cutting a bigger piece and applying that to an item, so we'll go there next. Okay, now that I have this all set, I picked out this image. I like to use fabric for a lot of different things, but I think it's really great because I can use anything that I have on hand to give my products a nice patterned element. So I already picked out this bear to go with the buffalo plaid. It is for a baby gift. So I'm going to go over to my Make It button, over here, click Make It. I don't need to mirror my image or anything. I actually do need to change. I forgot I'm on my Maker and I'm using my Air 2, so I'm going to change my machine settings to the Cricut Explorer family. That way I can use the correct machine. So everything's all set here. I'm going to click my Air 2, and I have the dial set to bonded fabric. So that's already ready to go. I'm going to set my computer aside, and I'm going to show you guys how to put this on your mat. So I have a pink mat that I'm going to use for the fabric, but you can use a purple mat too if you don't have a pink one on hand. So I left the paper on to show you guys. Just peel back a corner, peel it off, and you're going to see It's kind of shiny, and that is your adhesive. You want to make sure you take the paper off first. So I'm going to put it on my mat, and I'm going to use my brayer tool, my Cricut brayer, to adhere it really well. If you're using the rotary cutter in the maker, you still want to do this. You want to make sure it's on there well. Now, I'm going to show you quickly. I am using the bonded fabric blade and housing for this. It's pink. The blade is pink. You can see, it's hard to see, but it's pink too. This is actually the same blade and housing as your regular blade and housing. So it's just because when you're cutting fabric, it wears on your blade more. So Cricut recommends that you have a separate blade for that. So I just use the separate blade and housing for it. But you could just get the regular blade and housing and write fabric or something on it so you know the difference. But the pink one just shows it's easier to keep track of. So I'm going to go ahead and load my mat, and I'm going to let it cut. Now I really like that Cricut has now, when you're done cutting, your mat comes all the way out. I don't know if any of you've noticed this, and it does like a little tap at the top of your mat, and that allows you to check your cut before you're removing your mat. So I'm going to do this. This is a bonded fabric setting, but I'm using a flannels fabric, so I just want to make sure that it did cut all the way through. So it looks like it cut really well. So I'm going to unload my mat, and I'm just going to carefully, I did have some fraying, you can see, but that's more because of the flannel than anything. So I'm going to peel that off, and then I'm going to carefully pull out my little bear here. I use baby wipes to clean my mats, so I'll do that later. It works really well. So you can see, I'm going to show you. It cut pretty nicely, and this is my Explore Air 2, so keep that in mind. If I used the maker, I would have used my rotary cutter, but you can do this on the Air 2 and get really great results too. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to my EasyPress, and I'll show you how we press it. Okay, now that everything is cut and we're ready to go, I am preheating my EasyPress again. I'm going to read you guys the instructions really quickly off the back of this package. We're going to place the material adhesive side down on top of your project. Press and hold iron for 8 seconds on each section until entire piece is bonded. Now, because I am using the EasyPress, I can do this in one press. But if you are using an iron, or if you're using the EasyPress and it's a bigger project, you will need to press in sections. Times listed above are for cotton. Iron light fabrics for only 6 seconds. Iron thick fabrics an additional 2 seconds from the back of the project. I'm using a thin polyester, so I think using 6 to 8 seconds is good. So I have an old scrap piece of a shirt, and I'm going to add this on so that I can frame it. I have a frame from an old canvas that I don't have the canvas part on anymore, so I used just an old scrap piece of fabric so that I can stretch it across the back of the canvas for like a reverse canvas style. So I'm going to iron this material just to make sure there's no wrinkles or anything like that. Okay, and again, I'm using 300 as my temperature. This says to use iron, so you may, cotton, so you may want to adjust it a little bit, but I'm using 300 and that seems to be working okay. Again, I have not washed anything using the Strong Bond, so I can't speak to how well it holds up, but if you use the light and you applique it or you sew it, I've done that plenty of times and it's fine. And I've actually done it on towels. Bath towels, so, and it held up really well, so you're good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press this. I'll probably do it for 8 seconds just to make sure it's on there well. And I am going to, if you're worried about the material, you can cover it with Teflon, parchment paper, anything. I'm not worried about the material, so I'm going to go ahead and just press it like this. You don't really need a lot of pressure, especially with the EasyPress. So I'm just going to do that. And if you pick at it a little bit, you're going to be able to pull it up. You let it cool down a little bit and you'll see how it adheres. Again, I'll take it off my mat so that we can see. You can see it up close. It's such a great way. A lot of times I find fabric that I really love, but you can't find a pattern to iron on. So this is a great way to add a different element to a shirt or a design, or like I said, I'm doing a canvas. So this is cooled down a little so you can see how I'm kind of trying to pull it apart. It's not coming up. It's on there well. So can't wait to see what you guys make.